Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. A huge welcome to all the undergraduate ELT researchers joining us today. Now, if you're gearing up for your thesis or a major research paper, you probably know that exact feeling of just staring at a blank search bar, wondering where on earth to even begin. Well, today we're going to reframe that entirely. Instead of looking at your literature review as this massive chore, I want you to think of it as an exciting detective investigation. You are the lead investigator, and your one goal is to track down the absolute best evidence to build an airtight case for your research. So let's get into it.
First off, I want you to be honest with yourself for a second. Are your literature searches missing the most important papers? For a lot of early-stage researchers, the answer is an uncomfortable yes. Unstructured, hit-or-miss Google Scholar searches, where you just type in a full question and kind of hope for the best, leave massive holes in your academic research. If you're just relying on whatever magically pops up on page 1, you are almost certainly missing critical context, and that leaves your thesis completely vulnerable.
To fix that, we've got a 5-part agenda today. We'll start with the 2 logics of searching, look at Boolean search precision, cover citation network mapping, discuss a complementary search strategy, and end with your 8-step search workflow.
Let's dive right into section 1, the 2 logics of searching.
The key thing to grasp here is that truly competent researchers don't just rely on one method. They move fluidly between 2 complementary ways of finding evidence. On one side, we have keyword-based, or Boolean search. Think of this as your pursuit of absolute precision. You're literally telling the database exactly what words must be present in a document. On the flip side, we have citation network search, also known as snowballing. This is all about expansive mapping, finding relationships between papers based on who is actually citing whom. These 2 logics are the entire foundation for everything we'll cover in this explainer today. Moving right along to section 2, Boolean search precision. So if your research is an investigation, Boolean search is your magnifying glass. It is exactly how we lock down exact terminology. But what actually is it? Boolean logic is simply the practice of combining search terms using logical operators to narrow or broaden a database query. It is incredibly powerful, but there's a strict condition attached. It demands absolute precision in your vocabulary. You see, a database using Boolean logic doesn't care what you meant to say. It only searches for exactly what you typed. To use this magnifying glass properly, you've got to know the tools of the trade. Your essential operators are and, or, and not, along with quotation marks for exact phrases. Basically, think of these operators as filters for your research suspects. And demands that multiple concepts appear together, which naturally narrows your search down, or broadens things out, allowing for synonyms. Not actively excludes terms that might just clutter up your results. And those quotation marks, they're crucial. They lock words together in a specific order so the database doesn't just randomly split them apart.
Okay, let's look at a really specific ELT example to see this all in action. Imagine typing corrective feedback and EFL writing, not L1 English. That right there is a highly controlled command. The quotation marks guarantee you get the exact phrase corrective feedback, not just the word corrective on page 1 and feedback on page 10. By throwing in and EFL writing, you force the database to only show papers containing both concepts. And finally, not L1 English strictly limits your results to non-native English writing contexts, neatly filtering out studies focused on first language speakers. Boom! It is incredibly precise.
But keep in mind that precision is a double-edged sword. Let's say you're researching how comfortable students feel talking in class. You intuitively use the term speaking confidence. Well, you might panic a bit when you don't find much research. Why? Because the established academic standard for that construct is actually willingness to communicate. If you don't know the exact vocabulary the literature uses, a Boolean search is going to return an incomplete and totally skewed set of results, no matter how sophisticated the database is. It relies entirely on you knowing the magic words. Which brings us to section 3, citation network mapping. If Boolean search is our magnifying glass, citation network mapping is our string board. Like the corkboards detectives use in the movies with the red string connecting all the suspects. This second logic is often called snowballing, and it has been made dramatically more accessible by modern AI-assisted tools like ResearchRabbit or Connected Papers. But to start pinning things to your string board, you need a starting point. You need a seed article. This is usually 1 or 2 highly relevant, frequently cited publications used as an anchor. These act as your primary suspects. Once you have a prime suspect, you can trace all their associations, forward and backward, to see exactly who else is involved in the conversation. These mapping tools use your seed article to draw out citation chains, expanding outward visually. There are two main directions we want to explore here. Backward chains show you what your seed paper cited. This is how you discover the older, foundational studies that actually built the theory. Forward chains, on the other hand, show you what has since cited your seed paper. This helps you discover newer research that's expanding on or maybe even challenging the topic. It also groups topically similar publications, revealing this massive, interconnected web of academic dialogue.
I really want to highlight this fantastic insight from Cole and Boutte from 2023. They point out that these AI-assisted tools support unstructured searching, letting a researcher follow a citation trail that would be highly difficult to reconstruct through keyword search alone. And that right there is exactly why it's a supplementary workflow. It's designed specifically to catch the connections and the context that your magnifying glass missed simply because you didn't have the perfect keyword.
All of this builds a massive case for using both methods, because each has a very distinct vulnerability. Boolean search suffers from terminological blind spots. As we saw, it completely misses unknown terms like willingness to communicate if you just type speaking confidence. But citation networks suffer from recency blind spots. They rely on citations to make connections, meaning they can completely miss a brilliant, groundbreaking paper published last month just because no one has had the time to cite it yet. Relying on just one of these methods gives your thesis a fatal flaw.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, a complementary search strategy.
A master detective doesn't just throw away their magnifying glass because they bought a string board, right? They use both tools together to build an airtight, defensible case. These two logics are partners, not competitors. But when you combine them, you absolutely need to document your investigation using a search log table. Think of this as the ultimate receipt of your systematic process. You're going to record the exact query used, the database you searched in, the hit counts, like how many results it actually yielded, and your inclusion or exclusion rationale, meaning why certain papers made the cut and others didn't. This kind of strict documentation is the true backbone of research transparency.
Keeping a search log directly connects back to the rigorous academic standards expected of you as an ELT researcher. As Creswell and Creswell point out, a defensible literature review justifies the relevance of each included source to the research problem, and it organizes them thematically rather than just dropping them in as an unstructured list. Maintaining your search log elevates your work from a random pile of printed papers to a true methodical synthesis.
Finally, let's wrap things up with Section 5, your 8-step search workflow. Let's land the plane by translating all of this theory into practice. I'm going to give you the technical blueprint, providing actionable steps you can literally use to start mapping your literature today. Here are the first 4 steps. Step 1, define your core construct variants. Don't just stick to one term. Brainstorm 3 variations, like learner autonomy and self-regulated learning. Step 2, run your precise Boolean queries in Google Scholar using your ands, your ors, and your quotation marks, and definitely record those hit counts. Step 3, from those results, select 2 to 3 highly relevant, frequently cited seed articles. And Step 4, take those seeds and open up your citation mapping tool, whether that's ResearchRabbit or Connected Papers.
Keeping that momentum going, here is the second half of your workflow. Step 5, import your seeds into the mapping tool via their title or DOI. Step 6, generate and visually explore that citation network. Click through the earlier work, the later work, and similar work to find what your keywords completely missed. Step 7, export that map and specifically list 5 new papers you discovered, writing a quick 1-sentence note on exactly why each is relevant to your case. And finally, the grand finale, Step 8, compile absolutely everything, your queries, your hit counts, and your inclusion notes into your complete search log table for submission. You now have a complete, totally transparent methodology. I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought today. If another researcher followed your search log today, exactly as you wrote it, would they reach the exact same conclusions? Would they find the exact same papers? Well, if you use a complementary strategy, combining the incredible precision of Boolean operators with the expansive mapping of citation networks and logging every single step along the way, the answer should be a resounding yes. That is exactly what makes rigorous mapping matter so much, and it's what makes your next literature review completely bulletproof. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy searching.